right. So today we are going to unpack the power and honestly, quite often, the misunderstanding of accountability. And for me, I want to spotlight Hebrews 10, 23, and 14. So today we're going to unpack Hebrews 10, 23, and 14. My fault, 23 and 24. See, this coffee is empty. This coffee needs filled. This coffee is full. I'm not making these clerical errors. Hebrews 10, 23, and 24. Let us hold unswervingly, which is one of my favorite words, unswervingly. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. One more time, Hebrews 10, 23, and 24. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. Today, we are really going to focus on that last part in terms of understanding accountability. But before we jump into that, I think it's really important to unpack what accountability is, and more importantly, what accountability isn't. Because I feel like accountability gets a bad rap. Because quite often, and actually I'll just give you a quick second because I'd love your opinion. The first thing that comes to your mind when you hear accountability, drop it in the chat. What is literally the first thing that comes to your mind? I'm gonna drop mine just for fun. While you're doing that, I'm gonna start to unpack what accountability is and what accountability isn't. Because the definition of accountability is the quality or the state of being accountable. I love it when a word defined is literally itself. That always makes me giggle. But what's amazing about accountability, if we really break it down, is it can be the most affirming thing in our life, and it can be the most frustrating thing in our life. And realistically, what accountability is to us is how we're feeling. Because if we're doing the things that we say we are wanting to do, then when accountability asks us about it, what's our response? Yeah, we're killing it. This is amazing. Thanks for checking in. I literally have nothing to talk about because I'm doing everything I said I was going to do. However, if our words and our deeds are not agreeing, accountability is literally like nails on a chalkboard. It is the last thing that people want to hear because it is that salt in the wound reminder that there's something amiss in our lives. There's something that is between who we are and who we said we want to be. And so when it comes to the goal of accountability, what it is not meant to do is to condemn or shame you. And if it stings, then that is really an important heart check. Because all accountability does is it reminds us of the things that we said we wanted to do. So what accountability should be in its purest form is affirmation and literally sunshine and roses. Because if you're doing everything that you said you wanted to do, and someone says, hey, how are you doing? Literally, not pridefully, but literally, it's an opportunity to brag on yourself. How are things going? They're literally going amazing. I've woken up in the morning way early than I'm used to. I've exercised. My meals have been on point. I'm drinking tons of water. And you're like, wow, I'm supposed to be the one holding you accountable, and you're making me want to hold myself accountable. Like, dang, sister. But when you're not doing those things, it is like salt in a wound because it's that unfortunate reminder that we're not being truthful to ourselves. And so this begs the question then of knowing what it is and what it isn't. How does it genuinely apply to our lives? And I appreciate some of the answers. For me, it was personal. Others said accountability is honesty and accountability. For me, I think one on one. Typically, when I think accountability, I think one on one people. And that plays out two ways, publicly and privately. So if you're looking to be more accountable in your life, the easiest way and the most direct way is to find an accountability partner. I'm that for a lot of you. You're that. A lot of you are that for me. Because believe it or not, you guys keep me accountable and keep me seeking righteousness. So thank you. But also, if you are a fan of group settings, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you do, if you feel comfortable, social pressure sometimes keeps you accountable. I think we know that. And so 2 and 3 of this is where I really get excited because I think what we're going to talk about next in terms of the second way and the third way to encourage accountability in our lives are really like genuinely where life change comes to play. And so let's unpack the second way to keep yourself accountable. And I think this is where you really, really, really set yourself up for success or potential sabotage. And that is your environment. How does your environment keep you successful and accountable to what you've said? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's break that down. Your environment in terms of where you live, like your actual abode. If you say you're trying to lose weight and there's sugary snacks all around your house, well, your house is doing a poor job of keeping you accountable because you got that telltale heart just beating at the door, waiting to be snacked on. And believe it or not, that's something that we get to control. Beyond that, what type of narrative are we keeping ourselves accountable to? And what I mean by that is this. If you believe, and I think it's wonderful, the Henry Ford quote of whether you say you can or you say you can't, you're right. Well, when you walk into your room or where you live, is there positive affirmation of saying, you can totally do this? Or are there remnants of things that have not succeeded? Like my garage does a really good job of keeping me accountable to the fact that I'm not good at home improvement things. Because I'm not. It reminds me of all the things I've not done well. But when the spring comes, typically I clean it out and I start new and I go, you know what? The slate is wiped clean. And so the second part of this, in terms of your environment, in terms of where you live, it is so important to set yourself up for success by really encouraging the narrative that you can do this. And so that is going to be taking away temptations, not bringing those things into the house, putting up post-it notes. I'm a huge fan of post-it notes. See? Write yourself love letters. And if you think that's tacky, then copy the Bible because God already wrote you love letters. You're just copying them. Remind yourself just how encouraged you can be. But that's just part one of your environment. Part two is, where do you work? Because quite often we've got some type of workspace where we tend to stay sometimes 8 hours, 10 hours out of the day. How is that set up? Is that set up for success? Does that keep you accountable? Is there more water available to you than soda? And if soda is your struggle, is that even there? Take that away. Same thing with pretzels. Had a client who just could not get over keeping pretzels at work. It was a huge boundary. We were like, we need to set that boundary. Get those pretzels away from you. You will snack them. I just want to have one. You don't, I know, I want you to have one too, but one turns into 10. You got to get them out. But how does your environment encourage you? How does it keep you accountable? And the third part is, where do you do life? Do you do life in settings that keep you accountable? What do I mean by that? Your car, the places you go. Do you go to places that beg you to make less than ideal decisions? Or do you go to places that are just screaming, you can do this? And so I don't think we put a lot of effort, or we may not even know how important our environment is when it comes to our accountability to keep ourselves set up for success, wherever you live, wherever you work, wherever you do life. It's super important to surround yourself by having as much motivation and encouragement as possible. And then the third part of this, and this is something that if you ever feel called to do, I will implore you to do it. But that's the missional mindset behind weight loss. The act of saying that while I'm going to benefit physically, mentally, and emotionally and spiritually from the weight loss, I have the ability to actually brighten someone else's day by doing this. And you might think that's crazy, but I'm sure there are people who completely depend on you. I mean, it's fascinating how if you took a step back, even at your lowest point, think of if tragedy happened and you were no longer with us, how many people would be affected by that? People depend on us for things. And so for me, one of the things that has really propelled me recently has been, how can I make sure that I am here for my children? Because that's important to me. Not only do I want to see them grow up, but I want to see them live a healthy, happy, successful life. And if I'm so focused on me, not only may I miss that, but I also may put my health in a place of disrepair that I can't pay attention to that. And so, with the missional mindset of accountability, who are the silent winners that your weight loss and your health and wellness benefit? Are you your brother's keeper? Do you help relatives? Do older people rely on you? Do younger people rely on you? Because there's a lot of good accountability when you realize how impactful your health and wellness can be. And then sort of part 3B of that would be, where does God fit into this? Does God's opinion fit in at all? Because for me, that's a huge part of accountability, is knowing that whether I do amazing or if I have a crazy day, knowing that my heart was in the right place. Because I would feel for a lot of us, it's not necessarily the foods we eat that we struggle with the most. It's the emotion that keep us from making the positive decisions that make us struggle the most. And so if we're looking at it from a missional mindset for accountability, are you eating or are you exercising? Are you living in a way that would warrant a well done, good, and faithful servant? And so to just recap, what is accountability? It is something that should bring delight to you because it affirms what you're doing because you said you wanted to do it. What it shouldn't be is something that causes guilt or shame. Because if accountability does cause you guilt or shame, then you've got to take a quick heart check and go, well, why? Why does that sting so much? And then all of a sudden, it's not the accountability that's putting into place, it's the truth. And so knowing what it is and what it isn't, what are ways to be accountable? Well, step one is find a person. Find someone who will tell you the truth, who loves you, who will walk beside you and also kind of call you out on that stuff when you need called out on it. But step two is your environment. How can you set up an environment that keeps you in a place of success? Is it something as simple as making sure all the foods that are going to sabotage you are out of the house? Or is it that plus writing post-it notes to affirm that you are loved and you are worth it and you can do this and it will work out if you do the things that it takes to do it? But beyond that, is the place where you work set up for success? Is the place where you do life, whether it's your car or if you're a biker, like do you have things that help you succeed? How does your environment keep you accountable? And then the third way to find accountability is with the missional mindset, remembering that at the end of the day, you get to reap the benefit of the weight loss and the greater health, but really it impacts so many more people than just you. And those people tend to matter because we love those people. And so for me, as I mentioned, my kids are a huge part of accountability for me because I want to be everything I can for them. I don't want to let them down. I don't want them to have a dad who is just a withered part of himself. And so even with the bad back, I'm doing yoga every day to help my posture so I can run and I can play with them. So what are those missional mindset individuals that benefit from you having greater health? And then part B of that is, where does God play into this? Because if we all love Jesus, at some point our hearts should say, well, I would like a well done, good and faithful servant. And so I want to bring us back to Hebrews 10:24. I love 23. It was a really good setup, but 24 is where I really want to sort of leave and dwell on this point. Hebrews 10:24. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. Again, Hebrews 10:24. And let us consider how we may spur on one another towards love and good deeds. That is going to be my challenge for you this week. How can you find someone you know who may be struggling, and they may not be struggling, but you know is in their own journey? How can you just give them some good words? How can you encourage them to be better? Is it by living out your own life and making sure that you're a great example? Is it helping them? Is it being an encourager? I don't know. That's the great thing. You know you best, and God knows how he's going to stir you. But that's my challenge for you in this. Hebrews 10:24. How can we be encouragers? How can we help move people towards good deeds and love? I'm going to let you think about that, and I'm going to pray for us, and I'm going to really, really encourage you to not only dig into that question, but also really reflect on the things that we talked about in terms of people, environment, and mission. These three things, if you've got accountability in these three things, not only will you have massive amounts of success, but you're going to realize that you're not alone, that you are loved, that this is possible, and my goodness, success is just around the corner.